Chapter 35. Boris speaking about human nature. Says the chief, "We will see about that, because from a worldly aspect, mankind is still getting worse rather than better. What are Moses and all the big prophets now? I say unto you, in the so-called better echelons, one laughs about them, regarding them indeed as pious but quite useless myths for men's spirit, putting Pythagoras's and Aristotle's doctrines sky high above all prophets, a living proof that Jehovah's constitution, exacted and profoundly true as it is, nevertheless definitely does not achieve its aim with the people, which, however, it should in accordance with his word. What is the use of all revelations when the obvious means is forever not maintained, whereby it is solely possible to keep mankind's respect for the divine revelation in place? Just let a married couple try to bring up their children without the rod, and we shall soon see what respect their underage children will have for their parents' ever so wise and good instruction. Hence I have no regard for any doctrines and even laws that does not respond on mankind without the rod and sword. For man is evil from his foundation upwards, and can only be scourged into good men with the rod." Says Boris, "I fully agree with you in this respect, but there is still a big but, which you shall only get to know whence once taught by his very own mouth. Behold, when confronted with some new machine, at first we shall marvel, but on familiarization we shall discover a lot of shortcomings. We shall be overcome with the urge to rid it of its obvious faults. We therefore go to the Maker, telling him a thing or two. The manufacturer shall smile, however, taking us on as follows. Dear friends, it would indeed be possible, but still not on the other hand, because the machine still is conditioned on many important considerations. He who did it so in accord with his needs, for these needs it can have only the determined setup observed, and every addition would be an obvious affliction in itself. The machine needs to develop only a required degree of power necessary for its determined function. If one were to supply it with greater power, then the weaver would rip up the thread with every stroke, and therewith never produce a single yard of material. Hence, for its purpose, the machine has to have precisely the right setup, and even plus or minus would itself be the machine's shortcoming. Oh, once the machine wears out after extensive use, only then it will be time to restore it to its initial state, so it may again serve its purpose. Behold, this is what the clever Maker would tell us, and we too may in the end have to say to ourselves, the Master is right, for every master obviously has to know his business better than a couple of us amateurs. And a somewhat similar answer we could expect from Jesus the Lord, if we were to ask him how men can get so evil in the face of divine wisdom. What did we know about man's inner setup? We indeed often curse where God is still fully blessing, for we did not fully understand good nor evil. Each ever so good person is imbued with a greater or lesser degree of selfishness. With such nature, he then constantly is a judge of fellow men, and judges their actions harshly in proportion to their being out of line with his concept of self-interest. Since each person nevertheless thinks selfishly to some degree, nothing but lopsided judgment of fellow man are the outcome upon the wide earth. These slanted assessments lead to unpleasantness, then anger and envy, rage and other such praiseworthiness. Who then, other than the people themselves, are to blame for such praiseworthiness? Who then, other than the people themselves, are to blame for such human degeneracy? The life machine therefore wears out from time to time, and has to be repaired by its exalted master every now and then, or sometimes even overhauled from its foundation. And such repair period seems to be here again after more than a millennium, whereupon mankind, for the most part, shall hold their own for a time, but the bettered mankind shall not have more than 2,000 years thereafter, and in the beyond all will be keen-sighted witnesses of it becoming as I said now. Says the chief, "Well now, I congratulate you as a worthy disciple of your master. I can see now that I am not able for the present to compete with you in true wisdom. But I shall try hard, so that at my dear friend Chiwa's side I shall shortly be able to respond to you in those kinds of things. Because here one cannot make ends meet with current temple wisdom in Jerusalem, it being no wonder with the present level of wisdom in the temple.